The snowstorm hit harder than anyone expected that night. Thick, blinding flakes fell from a sky that looked almost angry, swallowing the city lights one by one. Roads vanished under white, cars stood frozen mid-turn, and in the middle of it all, a man in a black coat stopped his car when he saw something that didn't belong on the side of the road. A woman huddled beside a bus stop, her arms wrapped around two crying infants wrapped in thin blankets. Her tears mixed with the snow. He didn't know then that stopping his car would change all three of their lives forever. The man was Daniel Reed, the youngest CEO of a billion-dollar medical corporation and a single father of a 6-year-old daughter. Known for his perfection, discipline, and a heart long turned to ice after his wife's death 3 years ago, Daniel didn't slow down for anyone. Work was his world, success was his armor, and emotions were a luxury he couldn't afford. Yet that night something broke through. The way the woman clutched those babies, the way her body trembled not from cold but from heartbreak. It hit him somewhere deep. Against every instinct, he stepped out into the storm. "Hey, are you okay?" He shouted, but his voice was nearly lost in the wind. The woman looked up, her eyes red and glassy, her lips trembling. I just need to get to the shelter," she stammered. The bus didn't come. Please, they're cold, Daniel didn't think. He took off his coat, wrapped it around her and the babies, and guided her into his car. The warmth of the heater filled the silence as she sat, shivering, eyes darting nervously toward him. The twins whimpered softly. He reached over, gently adjusting the heater toward them. "You shouldn't be out here like this," he said, glancing at her worn-out nurse's uniform. "Where were you trying to go?" "The shelter downtown," she whispered. I just lost my apartment. I had nowhere else," he frowned. "You have family? Anyone who can help?" She shook her head, tears spilling over. "No one. My name's Emily. I'm a nurse. I was laid off last week when the hospital closed a wing. My babies," her voice broke, "they haven't eaten properly since morning." For a moment, Daniel couldn't speak. He'd dealt with mergers worth billions, but he didn't know what to do with a woman crying softly in his passenger seat while her babies whimpered with hunger. So, he did the one thing that came to him naturally. He fixed problems. "You're coming with me," he said quietly, turning the car toward his home. Emily protested weakly, but exhaustion silenced her. Within minutes, she was asleep, head resting against the window, one hand protectively over her children. Daniel drove through the storm, glancing at her reflection in the glass. And for the first time in years, he wondered if fate was trying to tell him something. When she woke the next morning, sunlight filtered through soft curtains. She blinked in confusion. The room was warm, elegant, too perfect to be real. The twins lay beside her, fed, wrapped in clean blankets. Panic rose in her chest. Where was she? Then the door opened, and Daniel entered, holding 2 bottles of milk. "They woke up early," he said gently. "I fed them a little. I hope that's okay." Emily sat up quickly. "You shouldn't have. I didn't mean to." He smiled faintly. "Relax, you were freezing out there. You and your kids are safe now." Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they were from relief. She couldn't remember the last time someone had looked at her without pity or judgment. "Thank you," she whispered. "You didn't have to do this." "I know," he said quietly, setting the bottles down. "But I wanted to." For the next few days, Daniel offered her the guest room until she could find a new job. He even arranged a temporary nursing position at his company's private clinic. Emily was hesitant, but her twins needed stability, and something in Daniel's calm assurance made her trust him. Still, their worlds were painfully different. Daniel lived in control. Order, precision, logic. Emily lived in chaos. Babies crying at 3 a.m., juggling exhaustion and survival. Yet slowly their worlds began to blend. He'd come home from meetings to find her singing softly to her twins in the living room, or making soup that filled his house with warmth he hadn't felt in years. His daughter, Lily, adored her instantly. And one snowy evening, Daniel found them all together by the fireplace, Lily reading aloud while Emily fed her babies. Something deep in him cracked open again. But peace never lasts forever. A board scandal hit Daniel's company. Leaked documents, accusations, rumors. Reporters flooded his gates, twisting every story they could find. One of them discovered Emily's background, a struggling single mother living in the CEO's home. The headlines wrote themselves, "CEO hiding mistress and children." Overnight, her name was dragged through the dirt. Daniel tried to shield her, but Emily, humiliated, decided to leave before she destroyed his career. "You don't owe me anything, Daniel," she said through tears, holding her babies close. "You helped me when I had nothing. I won't let my past ruin your future." He stared at her, heart pounding. "Emily, this isn't charity. I don't care what they say. You and the twins. You're part of this family now." Her breath caught, eyes widening. "Daniel, I lost my wife to fate," he said, voice breaking. "But I won't lose you because of fear." "Not again." For a long moment, the room was silent except for the snow tapping against the window. Then Emily stepped forward, tears falling freely, and he pulled her into his arms, a man who had everything but love, and a woman who had lost everything but hope. Months later, the headlines faded. Daniel rebuilt his company stronger than before. Emily returned to nursing, managing a new children's health program under his foundation. The twins learned to walk, often following Lily around the garden. And every winter after that, Daniel would tell the story to his family of how a storm had brought them together, not because of fate or luck, but because sometimes even the coldest nights are just waiting for two hearts brave enough to bring each other home.